So we're back with the two guys again, and we're talking about the blizzard of 1978. Arty, so they hired a bunch of day workers, didn't they?
Yeah.
What happened with those day workers? They never been around the railroad before. What did they do?
Those guys came down with. They came from out of Hartford, I believe. Those guys had on summer jackets and sneakers.
In the blizzard?
Yeah, in the blizzard. And we was up at what we call the top of the hump with Danny O'Connell and Art Long. It was up at the top of the hump, just before you go through the retarders.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay. So we was up there, and those guys, they came
dynamite truck.
yeah. And those guys came in, they stole everything and took off. They went back. And they sent me down. Oh boy, they sent me down to work with this guy, Obi. You remember Obi?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Obi would always go, I want Arty, come on Arty. We used to go underneath the retarders, the retarders are.
Yes.
When they hump in the car, to slow it down. And he would always call for me, we had to tighten them up or either loosen them up on the retarder so, it'll slow the train down. Yeah.
Did that have to be done at the change of seasons? When it went from winter to summer and summer to winter? Did that affect the retarders? No.
You had a lot of that on bridges, and then the smart Alex that came along afterwards, they did away with they had a summer rail on the bridge, like Devon Drive, that's a bridge I'm familiar with the most. They had a rail that was always put to the side, and when the weather started getting warm, they take out the winter rail, which was longer, and put in the summer rail, which was shorter, which went behind the rider rail on the miter rail. Rider, riding on, and miter behind that. And so then Penn Central came in, and they changed everything around. And I remember it was the day of my daughter's prom. I never got to see my daughter dressed in her gown to go to the prom. I got called out, and they couldn't open the bridge. And I had to cut the rail to relieve the pressure so they could open the bridge. And then we had to cut a new piece in, where if they just did like the old timers did, change the rails out, that would never happen. I tell you.
Remember how they used to put the welded rail in?
The welded rail?
Yeah, John was the crane operator, and the welded rail we used to put in. He put it on. We had to put it on the roller, and he put it in.
Oh, when it was already on the ground, after the train laid it out. It was on the ground.
Yeah, then he come by, pick it up,
put the roller box on.
Yeah, swing it over.
Right.
Yeah, and we had to walk behind it, alongside of it with liner bar, one over here and one over here. And you had to hold that rail in with the lining bar so it would sit down in the plates. And that was a pretty heavy job too. And I was only weighing about I guess I was weighing about 10 then, huh? Yeah.
So those rails were a quarter of a mile long?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that 110-pound rail?
No, that was 130.
Oh,
130-pound rail.
130.
32?
131.
131?
Because they discontinued the 132 for some reason. They discontinued the 132 and went to 140.
Yeah, then they went to 140, right? After
Right,
that, yeah.
right.
That's what I'm familiar with. I've been out on rail trains, putting rail out.
Yeah.
It's quite a process. You got to watch your feet all the time.
Right.
I think the guys that had it the worst were the guys in the middle where the rail's locked. It's only locked in the middle. They have clips that go on both sides of the flange and bolt it down, and then they have rail anchors to hold it.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the car flexes around.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's when we had to have the lining bars to hold that rail from getting away. Sometimes, like when you come to the end of that rail, that's when you really had to be careful at, because when it sit down, it would.
Like a snakehead.
Yeah, like a snakehead, and you had to stand there and hold it. I mean, you had to, everything that you had to stand there and hold it. Like if I'm on this side and Frank on this side, and we had to hold that rail in so it'd sit in the plates.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you on the derailment at Scarsdale?
No.
They had a derailment at Scarsdale, New York, and that's 2-track main line, and third rail, and one engine went on the ground, and the third rail chute took all that. We used to have wood covering on the rail, and took it all off and laid the rail over. So after they got the train out of the way, they wanted us to roll the rail back up. And what they did was they had rail anchors. You remember the rail anchor fork that you put the rail onto the clip onto the, well, I'm doing this so they know.
Yeah.
Put the rail out, the clip on the rail. It's a big bar and you pull it on. So they gave us these bars and they wanted us to hook onto the rail and pull it up. So now they maybe got 50, 60 of us strung out trying to pull this rail back up. Well, it got away from us. Now, the bars went over onto the live third rail and started arcing. I mean, it became like a huge welding rod. And in the powerhouses, a place over there where they make electricity for the railroad, the CBS, NBC, ABC, they all come running out because it sounds like Con Ed. It sounds like an artillery barrage, right? And they all come running out with the cameras. Us, we're running. I ran from the ground up onto the platform in one leap, and believe me, I could never do this in real life. I mean, that was just adrenaline. In one leap, boom! That was odd. Then they had an old diner down. Remember the diner that was in North White Plains down there? They took us there to eat.
Yeah.
And it was Salisbury steak and meatloaf. And we drove the waiter, the cook crazy. He was starting to use his hand to put food in. This is like,
I worked in that diner.
oh yeah?
My father was a tower operator at North
No
White
kidding.
Plains.
That's all gone now.
Yeah, and I worked there when I was 16 years old. I worked for John Gendron. That was
It's
his
like
name.
down at Pete's Diners in New Haven.
Yes, that's gone too.
No, it's still there.
Pete's Diner?
Yeah, off of
Well, I'm thinking of Almore.
Yeah, Pete's Diners in what you call it, over there, coming off of Middletown Avenue, back over that way. Yeah, it's still there. Yeah, we went down there. We was out something like 2 days or so, and the railroad had a habit of not paying the diners when we worked. So we went in there to have breakfast, and they said, no, we can't serve you because the railroad is not paying. You can eat, but you got to pay out of your pocket. At that time, the guys didn't have that much money to have.
Yeah, we weren't making good money back then.
Right.
Far from it.
Yeah, right. So then Eddie Armour came in there. You remember Eddie Armour?
Yeah, the
He
supervisor.
he came in there and he said, look, these guys has been out working 2 or 3 days or something like that. We was out there. He said, they got to have something to eat. Because everybody said, well, we're not eating. We're not going to go back out to work. So they made some type of deal. He signed some type of papers and so they let us eat. Me, half of them guys are gone now. Most of them are gone.
Yeah, popcorn and the whole thing.
Yeah, popcorn, Clayton, quite a few of them. I can't remember. Yeah.
I'll tell you a little side story to that, if you don't mind, Art. The high tension cinema department, they have a 12-hour work rule. They can work 12 hours and they're done. Not the track department. They work you till you drop. And if you leave, you're out of a job. Once you started working, you were there. And like Arty said, we worked ungodly hours, 32, 36. We just kept going. I mean, if you got to go to the truck and close your eyes for 20 minutes, that was sleep. You didn't get no rest. You didn't.
Right.
Unmerciful.
No hours of service law for the
Yes.
track department.
And it's that way today. It's that way today.
Just like if say like me and Frank was working together, say 3 or 4 of us was working. You say, Frank, you want to take a nap now? You say, no, well, you go ahead now, and I'll call you later. And that's how we did it. Maybe 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you take a nap, you go right back out and let the next guy go in and take a nap.
Yeah, you just caught a break. You didn't really get...
No.
Yeah, right. Just to relax your body.
Yeah. We put in some hell of a time. And then I worked up Cedar Hill for a while. And in the winter, doing switch adjustments. You take off your gloves because if you try to adjust the switch with your gloves on, you'd have wet gloves all day, no place to warm your hands.
Right.
So you'd adjust the switch with your bare hands and then dry them off, put your gloves on. You'd have calluses and raw meat for hands all winter.
Yeah. That's what's wrong with my hand now, frostbite.
Oh, yeah, you feel it. You're arthritis sketch yet.
Yeah, I know that.
But the camaraderie is unreal. I always said if you lasted a year on the railroad, you were there forever.
But what we used to do is It's really unbelievable. These guys today, they wouldn't do it.
Our lives were in each other's hands.
They wouldn't do it. We had to go out. They say, well, we can't get a switch. We say, Arty and Frank, you go adjust the switch. You just say it, Frank and I. Go out and adjust the switch. All right, got a half-inch of water in there. We got a half-inch of water in there to get to the rod, so we gotta do it by what we learned, how to adjust the switch in the water. Your hands are in the water, and it's cold. It's freezing.
And I have to give credit to some of the foremen we had. We had Art Longhorn. He led by example. I seen this man take a switch point from, what's the kind we had up Cedar Hill? What are they, about 12 feet long? The switch points up there. Put it on a two-wheel dolly and wheel it down the track and put it in all by himself. So you ain't going to tell him you can't do something.
Right.
He led by example. Oh, we had
Right.
the leadership was tougher than the men, and you had to be tough to measure up.
Right.
And they were good. They were honest. I liked them. Sometimes when you first start out, you think they're too tough, but no, that's to save your ass.
But Art was the type of guy like he wouldn't tell you to do something that he couldn't do. That's the type of guy. And he said, I used to tell Arty, I said, what, you want to come out tonight? No, Art, I'm drunk. I don't want to come out tonight. Okay, I'll be back in 15 minutes. And he'd come by and pick me up, and me and him would go, him and I would go do the job and come back home. You know?
I tell you a story about the first time I got my ass chewed out. Charlie Hubbard was our foreman, and he said to me, Puzo, go get the Jim Crow. Well, a Jim Crow is a rail bender, if you don't know, in our vernacular. So I ignored him. I mean, you tell him to get a rail bender. How do you bend rail? So
hydraulic.
he asked me a second time. The third time he said to me, I told you to get some. Why didn't you get it? I said, I don't know what you're talking about. So he takes me over to the back of the bus. Our gang bus had all our tools on it. Opens the door, and there's this hunk of iron. And what it is, it's a ratchet. And it has two bolts on one side, two bolts on the other.
Get the
And
chain.
a ratchet.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just had a chain?
Yeah. No, you had the ratchet, but you had the chain too because you had to hook the chain on.
Yes, yes.
Remember, you had to hook, like, this is the rail, you hook the chain on back here, then you ratchet.
Yeah.
To keep it from getting
Your
away.
memory's better than mine. So anyhow, you take off the bars and you put this on, and you either open the bars to put an end post in for an insulated joint, or you close it up to take up the slack and the pull apart. So that's what a Jim Crow is on. Well, the new guys wouldn't know, but me and Arty know.
Yeah. Then there was something else when I used to work with the old timers. Frank knows this too. He said, you got to break in the rail. Okay, put a Dutchman in.
Yeah. Well, you can't do that today. You go to jail. A Dutchman is a piece that goes in between a pull. I'm only saying it because.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate you telling that. I know what a Dutchman is
Well, I know you
on.
know.
I didn't know about the rail.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know about rail. I'm familiar with on the train. Sometimes the engines, the hose wouldn't
Yes.
quite make
Where
so
the
they
glad
pop.
hand is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you would have a Dutchman, and you put that in there.
Yeah, right.
So I know what it is for the air, for the brake pipe on a train, but I had no idea what it was for the track.
You do that today, you'll go to jail.
Yeah.
That's suicide.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then,
But that's all.
and then everybody they said everybody, each department was so independent at the time. But the track department, they used to have us uncoupling cars. Remember, Frank? You know, they tell you, you guys, the brakemen, the car knockers, they be doing what they want to do, and we had to uncouple the cars.
Yeah, you have to wait or it never get done.
All right.
Well, that's like me. I shut down the railroad a couple of times. When we rehabbed New Haven Station, we'd have to wait for a signal department to come out, disconnect the wires from the switch so we could take the switch out. Well, we'd wait and be 10 o'clock in the morning and still waiting. So I just go ahead and start burning. Now, the supervisor and the foreman never said that because they just turned around. But they didn't want me to do it, but they were glad I did it.
Yeah.
And we get to move. And then the signal department come out, they'd be all mad at me. What you cut my wires for? Oh, we're going to stay here till 12 noon?
Yeah.
waiting for you.
Standing around, yeah. So we go ahead and do it.
That's when you had to
So-
put the jumper, the jumper cables on there.
Yeah.
All right.
Talking about the car knockers and cars, you laid stone. You went out where you dropped trap rock. And you were telling me before, Arty, how many cars would you do in a day?
We used to do 20, 30 cars a day. The old way.
And we get inside them. We get inside them.
Yeah,
Remember,
right. We
push
had
the stone
to
down.
get inside and push them down. We had these big pans.
Well, as long as the table.
Well, the
Have to
pan,
fit
well,
under-
you know how wide a car is.
Yeah.
From one side to the other side. Excuse me. And then we had to take a piece of cardboard or whatever it was.
Barrel stakes, the old spike case.
Yeah.
We used to put the in between.
Yeah, to
To
adjust.
shorten the hole or make it wider.
Yeah, right. And we had to have these hooks like this to the top of the car. So you had to put the hooks on, then you had the pan. So you had to have a person that knows, like they say, okay, had to do it together. So I had my partner, his name was Lou P. Lou P. He said, hey Arty. I said, what? He said, you ready? I said, yeah, I'm ready. And you go up at the same time, and then you hook it.
Yeah, you had to put chains.
Yeah, the chain, yeah.
Chains to the pan to the bottom of the hook.
Right.
And then we get inside. We two guys on top, one guy on the bottom. We'd be pushing it down.
Right.
The guy on the bottom would be scooping it into the slot.
No mask.
No mask.
And those were the days.
And nobody lost a leg either.
Those were the days when you just didn't wear a mask and you were breathing in all that rock dust.
Yeah.
They didn't wash it first, so it was damp.
We'd stop at either the Red Arrow or there was another place in Devon. We'd stop and get a beer. You'd have 3 beers before you tasted the first one.
Yeah. Yeah, right. The Red Arrow. What was the name of that other one?
I can't think of it. I know the Red Arrow was right on the corner.
Yeah, right. Well, that's where Dickie used to go all the time.
Yeah, Dickie Anderson.
Yeah.
That was a heck of a man. He was in World War II. He was a fighter pilot. He was a bus driver. He was a great guy.
Yeah.
I was thinking about him the other day.
Yeah, I worked with a lot of World War II
Another
guys.
funny story.
Go ahead.
Frank should remember this. One day we was going up there. We was working upstate New York, Greenhaven Prison.
On the neighborhood line.
This is the I know her. Go ahead.
We was at Greenhaven Prison. So now we waiting on Dick to come back to drive the bus. So everybody's looking for Dick. Our former name was Charlie Hubbard. So we looking around. Where's Dick? Where's Dick? They had no lock Dick up. Hubbard had to go in there to get him. He said, this guy's an escapee. He said, that man ain't no damn escapee. He worked for Penn Central Railroad.
Yeah, see, you wore blue work clothes, blue
Yeah.
pants, Dickies, and blue shirt.
Yeah.
And that's what the inmates wore.
Yeah.
And when he got nervous and he stuttered.
Yeah, right.
And the more he told him, he was with the railroad. He couldn't get the words out, and he stuttered. And then, now, come on, you're coming with us.
They took him. You know?
Yeah,
wow.
We had some times out there.
Oh yeah.
So you don't probably miss working, but I bet you miss a lot of the
I
guys.
just told him that tonight. Today's the first time I saw Arty in many years, and I said, I think of you all the time. And I'll tell you, one of the best days on the railroad I ever had was with him. We're up on Liberty Street, on the switch at Liberty Street in Danbury. We put a new switch in, and he showed me how to double spike. He said, whatever you do, don't stop. I remember that. He said, don't stop. And we double spiked almost the whole switch, just him and me. One after the other, bam, 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 bam. We went, and I'm telling you something, you didn't feel half as tired as you did when you were doing it by yourself.
Right.
Yeah, those.
Then we had this other guy. We did the bridge. His name was Tony DeFalco. Old Tony DeFalco. We had the jackhammer. We had the guys go ahead and set the spikes. So Tony said, all right, let's go. We had the, like the jackhammer, but it was fit so for the head of the spikes. So Tony said, Tony, he said, yeah. He said, get to no, I want Eddie. Come on, Eddie, come on. And me and Tony, he go, I go. All day long, without a break. We took our little breaks, but, most of the time, just constantly moving.
Yeah.
It was.
Wow.
It was.
Those are some stories.
But you know what, though? The reason why I say that is because we had fun there. You know, we talk shit all day long. You know, to one another, this, that. Oh, look at Frank. Frank ain't doing shit. Oh, fuck you. You ain't doing nothing. Oh, you know. And the day went by.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
New Year's Eve, 1974. Before you didn't have New Year's Eve off. You worked that day. But so Charlie gets us all on a bus and takes us to Stanford. Just to go to Stanford, you know, and he goes in the office.
For the day. That's all.
Yeah. So now he comes out and he sends us back to Bridgeport, to Seaview Avenue.
Yeah.
I said, this don't look good. Sure enough, when we get there,
Not Seaview Avenue, Warden Avenue.
Warden, yeah. But that's coming off the Seaview switch and all that, right? Coming out of the yard. Well, anyhow, Warden Avenue.
Yeah, Warden Avenue off of Railroad Avenue. Coming down Railroad Avenue down to Warden Avenue.
Yeah, I know what you mean now.
Yeah, oh, okay.
It ain't all there. I know. Once you bring it to my mind.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we get back there, and there was derailment, and there was one car facing Waterbury, one car facing the street. And there was zigzag onto the bridge, one car hanging over the bridge, two catenaries down, the 4 and 3 side down, and the only thing that kept some of the wires off the track was there was coal cars there for the Bridgeport Power Company.
Yeah.
And they were on there, hanging on there. We spent 3 days there, giving the railroad track to take those cars out and to start service. 3 days, we had it back in service, and gee, my mind, I got a million things going up there, but that was